Welcome to Plastic Surgery Talk with Dr. Mulholland, brought to you by SpaMedica. Hello and welcome, Dr. Mulholland here in Toronto, Canada on Plastic Surgery Talk, and welcome to our weekly podcast. If you find these informational, enjoyable, entertaining, please subscribe, share, and comment. Our podcast today is on hair transplantation, which we've done many times before because it's a very, very busy part of my plastic surgery practice and extremely common. In North America, hair transplantation is a billion-dollar business. The way we harvest it has changed completely. We've gone from strip graft harvesting, using a scalpel and cutting out a chunk of hair and slicing and dicing that into little hair grafts, to an automated or robotic rotatory punch system that harvests one hair family at a time, leaving a little trace of that harvest that's 0.8 to 0.9 millimeters in diameter. Basically, when it heals, you can hardly even see it. Why is that important? It's allowed us to harvest from the back of the scalp or other body areas like the back or the chest, the groin, the legs, as donor sites without a scar. This has opened up a tremendous opportunity in facial hair transplantation, women and men, facial hair transplantation. For women, it tends to be facial hair transplantation to eyebrows that have been overplucked, traumatized from plucking, where there's no more hair growth. And we will often then do hair transplantation into the eyebrows. For women also, we can transplant into the actual eyelashes. Women without eyelashes from a hereditary lack of eyelashes, or eyelashes that have been overextended and traumatized, or just eyelashes that are insubstantial and haven't responded significantly to Latisse. So eyebrow eyelash for women. For facial hair transplantation on men, it comes down to the beard and the mustache. Occasionally a traumatic eyebrow injury, a hockey player or a car accident leaves a scar in an eyebrow. Sometimes we'll do it in the eyebrow, but for men, it's about getting a full mustache and a full beard. So one of the most common questions I get, is it possible to grow a full beard if I have a patchy one? And that's the most common reason that we do FUE, or follicular unit extraction transplantation into a male face, is for a patchy beard. A man who can grow a beard that's pretty good here, but it's weak in the mid-mandibular body, or they can grow a mustache, but not the full Fu Manchu, or the bottom part of the mustache to connect the beard, or the beard's too thin and there's nothing in the upper cheek, or there's a weak vertical ascending portion of the mandibular body. So there can be very patchy beard growth, and we can do hair transplantation into the face, into the beard, to give a full luxurious look to that beard. How is it performed? We take hair from certain areas of the back of the scalp, the preferred donor sites where the man will never lose hair, and we strategically take the right shape and density of hair and we implant into the face. The growth is predictable, and generally you can create a very full, luxurious beard when you have a patchy beard with hair transplantation. So, is hair transplantation into a beard beneficial, and does it look real? The answer is yes and yes. We can take hair from preferred donor sites at the back of a male scalp and take just the right size, density, and caliber of that hair that more matches the caliber, size, and density of facial hair, and transplant into the face with great predictability. We take the hair, one hair family at a time, we create a little donor site slit with a needle, and we insert the hair graft to fill out the patchy areas where there is no beard. And it can look extremely real with our techniques and strategy on density creation, on the right caliber and the thickness of the hair, on the angulation of that hair. We can create very, very natural beard patterns. The genetic code for hair growth at the back and the side of the scalp is a lot longer than a beard. So some guys can grow a very long beard, but some parts of a beard don't grow that well. And one of the problems with hair restoration and transplantation into the facial areas, you get very long hair. So you have to be prepared to actually trim your beard much more frequently than you may normally have to do, because that hair is genetically programmed to grow long, like a long ponytail at the back of your scalp. And so trimming your mustache, trimming your transplanted beard, it becomes a fun chore to do after the hair transplant starts to grow. So what technique of hair transplantation is best for men who are seeking a mustache or a facial beard transplantation? Well, you have to consider the donor site and the recipient site, or how do we harvest it and how do we transplant and implant it. For the harvest perspective, gone are the days of strip grafting, of taking a large chunk, a large strip, usually 12 to 14 centimeters long and 2 to 4 centimeters wide, and then stapling or stitching that up at the back and leaving a linear scar. So we use non-linear scar techniques now, where we take the hairs one at a time with automated and robotic technologies. Artist and NeoGraft and SafeGraft are the three busiest and biggest out there. And they all work through a rotatory mechanism that rotates down, extracts one hair at a time. And that's by far the best technique for young men or any age man who's doing facial hair transplantation for the beard or the mustache, because we leave no donor site scar at the back of the scalp. So non-linear scarring techniques, Artist and NeoGraft, are the best transplantation techniques for facial hair grafting. Then, of course, we need to take that hair that we've transplanted and insert it into the facial beard pattern with a great degree of skill and artistry so it looks natural. So a stick in place is usually the most common technique, where we take a small needle, make a poke and stick, we call it a stick, in the skin, in the exact recipient site, and place a hair in to replace and augment the beard or mustache. Then we do another one, and then another one, and another one. So this by stick in place, by individually creating one hair augmentation at a time and dynamically creating that beard right in front of you. That's the best, in my opinion, being the busiest hair transplant center in Canada. That is the best way to create a very natural hair transplantation, beard or mustache augmentation for men, or eyebrow and eyelash augmentation for women. So how does a facial hair transplant procedure work? Well, we divide the procedure into harvest and implantation. So first of all, we meet with our patient. With a guy, we meet with them and we outline exactly what kind of beard pattern they want, how high, how thick, the shape of the sideburn, the height of the beard across the cheek, the shape of the mustache into the Fu Manchu and the mentum. We draw the outline of the beard we want to create or the mustache we want to create. Once we've got that, we can estimate how many grafts we need. And then we outline at the back of the scalp how much scalp we have to shave in order to access through our Artist or NeoGraft techniques. Then we apply local anesthesia to the back of the scalp. We do that with nitrous oxide, laughing gas, and some medications so the patient's feeling very comfortable. And then for the next 2 hours or so, we harvest the number of hairs we need from just the right spot with just the right density and caliber that we'll need to create and fill in our map and drawing of what the beard we want to create, what mustache we want to create, or for women, what eyebrow and eyelash volume and numerical density we need. And so after the harvest, we create anesthesia on the face. We provide local anesthesia like I would do with any facial injectable technique. And once we've made the area we've drawn anesthetic with our local, then we can start to do stick in place. We keep all our grafts on ice so they're nice and cool and they're not aging metabolically. We take them off the ice and we stick them in these little slits. So we make one slit at a time until we fill in with optimal density and angulation the hair density required to fix the patchy beard, the mustache, the eyebrow, or the eyelash. Once we've done the implantation, we go over post-treatment instructions and the patient heads home. What are the pros and cons of hair transplantation? Well, one of the many advantages that it gives you the ability to create density and hair volume in an area where you're challenged. That could be on the scalp if you have thinning of the frontal region or the back or the crown. It could be when you have an insubstantial thin mustache or Fu Manchu, or you can't grow a full beard, or your eyebrow has been traumatized or you've plucked it as a woman. It allows you a natural hair growth in an area where you would have to resort to artificial techniques and strategies like powders or eyebrow liner or eyelash optimization and fake eyelashes. And so it allows a natural creation of facial hair density and volume where you would have none, with hair that comes from you, is you, feels like you, and is completely and 100% natural. So the advantages are a natural, permanent solution to areas of your face or scalp where you have not enough hair. The cons are you need an operation or a procedure to get this done. The advantages of the newer procedures we've developed over the last decade, they're done under local anesthesia. There's no risk of a general anesthetic. We have non-linear scarring techniques where we harvest from donor sites that don't leave a mark. We can do this usually all in one day. The recovery is quick with very little downtime. There's almost no pain because there's no cutting, there's no staples, there's no stitches. And so we take what used to be a relatively morbid procedure with downtime and pain and made it essentially painless with no scar. And those are the advantages. The ability to give you a scarless donor site and augment suboptimal density in facial areas like eyebrow, eyelashes, beards, and mustaches. How does your hair grow after a procedure like this FUE for facial hair augmentation, eyebrow, eyelash, beard, or mustache? Well, there's two answers to that question. How does it grow in the donor site first? Remember, the hair that we stole from the back of the scalp to donate to the facial grafting, it never grows at the back of the scalp again. So we need to spread it out over an area or a patch, so there's no obvious decreased density in the zone that we take it. The good news is that we have so much hair at the back of our scalp. If you steal 500 or 1,000 or 1,500 little hair follicle grafts, you are not going to look thinner at the back of your head. So you can donate that amount of hair, no problem. In fact, when we're doing hair restoration in men, we can take up to 12,000 follicular units from the back of the scalp over a series of transplants, and the back never looks too thin. So the hair that we shave at the back, it will regrow over a week or 10 days, and it'll hide the little donor sites that we had for the follicular unit extraction, and you will not see any marks at all. So the back grows naturally as when you shave your head with anything. You cut, you do a little haircut and you shave a patch down to a number 1 blade. It grows to number 2 in a week, number 3 in 2 weeks, and it just grows naturally. The hair that we steal, the hair that we take, we put on ice and then implant, that grows in the recipient site in the following fashion. About 50% of all the hairs we transplant into an eyebrow, a mustache, or a beard, the shaft will fall out from the shock of the transplant. It's called Telosian effluvium, or TE, shock hair. So it's like repotting a plant. You repot it, sometimes the bloom and the flowers of the petal fall off from the shock of the new soil. So there's some hair that goes into shock loss. About 50% of the shafts will fall out. The other 50%, they nestle in, the root picks up a blood supply, and within 2 weeks, the shaft starts growing. So half the hair that we transplant into your eyebrow, your eyelash, your mustache, or your beard starts growing right away. The other half, the bulb lives. In 92% of the cases, the bulb will live. It may lose its shaft through shock loss, but it will live. In about 3 or 4 months, a second phase growth starts where the shaft starts to grow again. And it'll come out through the pore in the skin and start to look like stubble. Like you shaved your entire beard, you got a little stubble, and then it starts to grow. And it will contribute to the first phase growth. And so it may take a few months to catch up to the length you like to keep your beard at, but you get first phase growth right away. By 3-4 months, second phase growth, it unites with the first densification implantation. And finally, by about 7 or 8 months, you start to see optimal density at the right length that you want for your beard, your eyebrow, your eyelash. And unfortunately, unlike hair transplant, you've got to start trimming your beard, your eyelash, your eyebrow fairly quickly, because it's programmed to grow quite long at the back of your scalp, much longer than you want your facial area. So within about 2 months, you've got to take that hair and start trimming it. And so beard trimming, mustache trimming becomes a much more frequent task than in the genetically programmed hair that grows naturally on your face. Will I lose the hair that I have successfully transplanted into my face one day? Will it one day fall out? Will I lose hair where I implanted it? Will some of my natural beard hair fall out? These are common questions. And the biggest question that males have when they think about this, and women, let's say I get older and I have some thinning hair at the back of my scalp, but you stole the hair from the back of my scalp from my beard. One day, if I go a little thin on my scalp, will I go thin on my beard? Will it fall out one day? And the second question I have is, how much hair will survive the transplant? How much will die and fall out and never grow back? So let's answer that second question first. How much hair will survive. What's the survival rate of facial hair transplantation? The survival rate of facial hair transplantation approaches that which we get in the scalp, meaning that we take the hair out, we implant it. Over 90% of the bulbs will take and get a blood supply, and the shafts will grow and they will live. So you can expect over 90% of your hair will survive. About 8% of all transplanted hair bulbs do not pick up a blood supply and they die, and that hair will not grow. Second question, let's say you have a successful facial hair transplantation procedure and you're aging, you're getting into your 30s and then your 40s and then your 50s and you're starting to go bald and you're losing hair from your scalp and you realize, wow, like half my face is from my scalp. Will my beard go bald? The answer is no, because where do we steal that hair? We harvest it from the fringe hair, the very low part of the nape of your neck, that area, that Friar Tuck zone where even bald guys, George Costanza bald, Friar Tuck bald, still have a rim of hair around the low back of their scalp around the sides. It's called the preferred zone or the fringe zone. And that's where we steal the hair from when we do facial hair transplantation. So even if you go totally bald, you will still have a beard because we stole the hair from an area that never goes bald. So what is the cost, what is the price of facial beard or facial mustache or eyebrow eyelash transplantation? In general, for scalp transplantation, the cost of an FUE or follicular unit extraction transplantation procedure is dependent upon the number of grafts that are transplanted. In general, it is going to cost you for scalp transplantation usually between $8,000 and $14,000 if you're going to do 2,000 or 3,000 follicular unit transplant. The price per follicular unit across most clinics in North America can be anywhere from $10 per graft to $15 per graft. And so the price of your procedure will depend on how many grafts you need. The average amount for a mustache is, in terms of numerical content, can be anywhere from 750 follicular unit transplants to 1,500. The price for most full mustache or beard in most major urban markets could be anywhere from $699 or $7,000 to as much as $12,000 because a full beard and mustache will often take 3,000 follicular units. Eyebrow transplantation and eyelashes, generally, it's less dependent on how many grafts you need and more dependent on the delicacy and specialization of the area. And so we're one of the few clinics in Canada that does eyelash transplantation. And so we charge about $5,000 for eyelash or eyebrow, even though you might only need 250 to 500 grafts because it's a very delicate, very specialized procedure. It needs a skill set and a specialized center to do so in a very delicate area. So for eyelashes, eyebrows, you're looking usually around $5,000 to $7,000. For a full mustache, it might be anywhere from $6,000 to $12,000, and a full beard with a mustache could be as much as, like scalp transplantation, as much as $12,000 to $15,000. Are there any additional prices or costs associated with my facial hair transplantation? Well, the good news is no. When you think of scalp transplantation, we often see guys 3 or 4 times for multiple sessions over 10 or 15 years. As they get thinner and thinner and balder, they need to bring more and more hair up to their scalp. So each procedure might cost $10,000 to $12,000, and they have to do it 3 or 4 times. So it might cost them between $35,000 and $50,000 to keep the total head of hair going over 3 sessions in 10 years. That's totally different with well, let's say a beard transplant or a mustache transplant, because you are not going to lose facial hair. So it's a one-time cost. You're not coming back to top up your beard because you're losing hair as you get older. And so for a mustache, beard, eyebrow, eyelash, it's usually a one-time fee. You get the density you want, the look you want, and there's no associated costs. Occasionally, a guy will come back at a year, his beard is growing out, his mustache is growing out, or a woman, her eyebrows is growing out, come back and says, I love it, but I got a little couple patchy areas here or there. Can you add like 100 grafts? So sometimes there's a small fee to do an enhancement density top-up at 1 year, but then that's it. There's no ongoing hair loss in your face, and you've had a one-time expense to get the facial hair you want, and that lasts for your lifetime. So the final analysis, the big question always is hair transplantation to my face, my facial areas, the right option for me? And the answer is, if you want a full luxurious mustache or a beard, or as a woman an eyebrow or an eyelash, you don't want to use eyebrow liner paint or powders, you want it to be natural and look attractive and be actually real, then transplantation of hair done without the strip linear scar technique but with FUE is absolutely the right option for you. So thank you very much for joining me, Dr. Stephen Mulholland, for Plastic Surgery Talk here in Toronto, Canada, with our weekly podcast series. This one has been on the very specialized and interesting area of facial hair transplantation for females, eyebrow eyelashes for males, females would be eyebrow eyelashes, and for males, mustaches and beards. If you have found this to be interesting in content, informative, entertaining, please share. Otherwise, subscribe and comment. Leave a comment if you found this to be entertaining and informative, and look forward to seeing you on our next podcast here at Plastic Surgery Talk.